Welcome back to the Real Estate Sitdown presented by WB Homes and the Pemberton Home Team. This is episode 38. I'm Blair Berg. This is Amber Perez. How are you doing, Amber?
Dandy. Was sick last week.
Yeah, so for you guys that watch, you'll notice that we didn't have an episode last week. We both were a little under the weather.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're both on the rebound from that. So hopefully we got that out of the way.
Yeah, I hope we don't get it for the rest of the year. I'm good. Tapped out. Let's go.
Exactly. So today, at the time of recording, is Monday, February 19th, 2024, and the interest rate for a 30-year conventional loan is 7.14.
Yeah, we went up, guys. Woo!
Yep. So, unfortunately, we've broken that 7% threshold once again.
It's going to go back down.
It's going to go back down. It's just the economy's not as bad as people thought.
No, I was actually talking with my lender this morning, my lending partner this morning, about the rates. And, the prime borrowers are still getting in the high sixes, which is great, at least on the VA loan, because that's what we were discussing was the VA loan. And he said if you can float your rate for another week or so, maybe 2-3 weeks max, it'll come down. But right now, I mean, you can't lock today anyways. It's President's Day.
Yep.
But he thinks within the next 2-3 weeks it's going to start floating back down, which is really good.
Yeah, I think it should too. It's just, like I said, it's doom and gloom every time you're on the internet about the economy, and then every time the Fed meets, it's actually not as bad as people think it is. So
yeah,
something's got to change if we want rates to come down. So numbers are in for January, so we're going to do a quick market update. So, I mean, for Amber, you're kind of new to the show. This is mostly, my data is based on the metro area here in Minnesota. So it's a little more localized. But so for January 2023 to 2024, the difference there, new listings were actually up 18% year over year.
That's good.
Yeah, it was 3298 in 2023. Last month, it was 3892.
Okay.
So that's a huge indicator for the upcoming spring market.
Yeah.
That listings are coming back.
They are. And honestly, I've got signed buyers right now that are looking, and we keep getting beat out. And we're not writing crappy offers. We're writing really good offers, and we're still getting beat.
And that's another thing. I mean, we're at 7%, and the spring market is still coming, whether we're at 7% or not. Closed sales was up 3.2%. It was from 2,086 to 2,153. So almost 100 extra closed sales there. Median sales price, for everyone talking about home appreciation, that was up 3.1%.
That's
year
fantastic.
over year. Yeah. So it went from 343 to 353.
That's still above average. Usually people see a 2% in a normal market. Mm-hmm. So, 3% is great.
Yep. And then days on market until sale were actually down 6.7%. Went from 60 to 56.
Of course.
Yep. So, you'll see that with lower inventory. Inventory of homes for sale, though, that went from 6058 to 6174 for 1.9% difference. So still these are good signs, especially when we're talking about if interest rates can come down and inventory continues to come back to the market, that should be good for pricing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And then just to compare January to December, so month to month, from December, we had 2417 for new listings. January was 3892. So that was an increase.
That's a huge increase.
Yeah. Over 1,000 there.
Yeah.
Same with close. It's funny though, closed sales was actually down from 2841 to 2153.
I bet it'll be up next month.
Yeah. Which is an interesting trend. I generally see more in January than I do in December with the holidays and stuff.
Right.
So that was interesting to see that. Days on market was actually lower in December. And inventory of homes for sale was about the same. So I think those are all good indicators as we move into spring.
They are. Yeah. And if you think about it, 2 weeks ago, we had the coldest weekend we've had in Minnesota all winter. So it makes sense that our numbers are going to be down because most people didn't go out of their own homes that weekend to go out and buy another home.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, again, positive indicators as we move forward into the spring market. We just when the interest rates come down, that'll be huge, I think, for inventory too, because then people will be more willing to sell, part with their interest rate to get a better one. So
absolutely.
Next, we will move on to the comment section. We have a little backlog of comments since we didn't do an episode last week, but we're still posting clips. I posted a clip when we were talking about how there was a for sale by owner in my neighborhood with terrible pictures listed at $1.5 million, no hits, and they're on the market for a couple months. Yep. Then within like a month of being listed with an agent, they had an offer and went contingent. And it had great pictures. And I think a lot of that has to do with quality pictures.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'd also make the argument it helps a lot that they're on the MLS because they had an agent.
Sure.
But I mean, you probably can get it sold with good pictures, but when your house is listed at $1.5 million and the pictures make it look like
it's a $200,000 dump.
Exactly. No one's even going to look at it.
Yeah, my thing is pictures are meant to get people out to the property. So they are there to specifically market the property. If your pictures aren't drawing people's eyes, the odds of people just skipping over it on the online, like on Zillow, they're not going to click on it. Mm-hmm. They're going to be like, "Oh, crappy pictures. I don't even want to see the house." Yep. So if your house looks dark or dingy, or sometimes houses look like they even stink, but like in pictures. Yeah. And if you're putting out poor quality photos, I mean, even me, I'm a professional real estate agent. I look through photos and I'm like, do I want to send this to my client? What is my client going to think about this house? And I even do it for myself. I'm looking for a multifamily right now and I'm clicking through pictures. And I'm like, does this look like I could rent this? Or does this look like I can live in this? And the answer is no. Cool. I don't want to look at that house.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, the complete comment was pictures don't matter. It's a certainty their asking price was too high. They didn't change asking price from before to when they had an agent and they got an offer. So, and that was in the clip. So I'm not even sure. So clearly this person didn't pay attention. The clip's only 30 seconds long. But it had nothing to do with their asking price because clearly the asking price wasn't out of the question if it went contingent at 1.5 once they got an agent in pictures.
It was how the property was marketed. Yeah.
And I think it needs to photograph, I think, even more. Like it needs better photographs, especially with a higher price point like that. Mm-hmm. Because think about the demographic of the person who's going to buy that house. Yeah. Someone with money that probably doesn't want to put a bunch of work into a house. They want to buy something that's ready for them to move in. Yeah. They don't want to buy something that looks like a fixer-upper.
I wouldn't want to buy $1 million fixer-upper. No way.
Exactly. So then we had another comment on a clip that we had put out about finding off-market properties, going through court records to see, who's got tax liens, stuff like that, or who
absentee
owners, stuff like that. And got a comment that said, I find those letters annoying, but not nearly so as the ones that call my cell phone. If we do ever sell the property, I swear that absolutely none of those who have contacted me will get the listing. What I think is interesting about that is I get being frustrated with cold calling. And again, letters, I feel like it's much more manageable thing. Oh, yeah. So I understand like the cell phone thing over getting getting a letter. But my thing is, it's like so just out of spite, you want to go with someone who wasn't trying to get your listing. So you're ignoring the person who probably has done the market research in your area, that is local, that knows that area and is clearly a full-time realtor that
who's actually acting and wants your business,
that actively markets prospects because they're doing the work. So just out of spite, you'd rather go with someone who's not putting in the work.
Yeah. So my thing is like when I sent those letters, I would handwrite every single letter. Mm-hmm. So it was written with intention. And I would literally sit for an hour a day and write at least 10 to 15 letters and get them out in the mail. So I wasn't like mass producing these letters by any means. It was me putting in the hard work. And I would have people reach out to me. But here's the thing. I caught these people when they were in a time of need. Mm-hmm. The ones that weren't in a time of need and didn't need to sell their property, they didn't reach back out to me. Yep. And that's fine. I've never heard from those people ever in my life. And I didn't expect for everybody to call me. Yep. So you have to have a reasonable expectation of what you're putting out and know that not everybody's going to need your services immediately. And the hope is that when they do need your services, or you're catching them at the time that they are in need currently, that they reach back out to you because you've made the effort.
Yeah. And you said something too before we even started filming. It's like, not everyone wants to work with me, and I don't want to work with everybody, right. Which is fact. It's like, there are people out there that I'm not going to work with. They don't want to work with me. I don't want to work with them. So it's like, we are marketing to people who are open to working with us and want to work with us.
Exactly.
And see value in our services. If you're going to be a little shit, I guess, and just be like, yeah. No, I don't like that you're actually trying to get my business, then that's fine. There are plenty of people out there that see the value in what we do.
I'm not trying to work with an asshole, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny too, because when I see things like this, I would love to know what line of work that this guy is in, or girl, this person's in, just because no matter what company you're in, there probably is a sales aspect to it. Whether you're selling a service, a product, I'm guessing you have a department in your building that does some sort of inside or outside sales, where they're contacting people to try and leverage their services for that customer.
Right. And it's all a part of marketing. Like Nike does marketing, we do marketing, Burger King markets, Subway markets, everybody markets.
Yeah. So it's like, and like you said, it's a letter is a good thing. It's like, they can look at it and be like, you know what? Actually, I have been thinking about selling my home. Or you look at it and you're like, I'm not thinking about selling my home. And you throw it away.
Exactly. You're not intruding on anybody's personal time. Like, I hate cold calling.
Yeah.
I am not a cold call person. I feel like I am intruding on people's time. And I have found better ways to market myself than to piss people off.
Yeah. Yeah. And even that, like, I don't do cold calling either. I've tried. I just can't get into it. And again, I think for me, it feels disingenuous because I don't like when people do it to me. Mm-hmm. But there are people out there, and the numbers will support it. There are people that find value in it because they're like
super
successful. A lot of agents run their businesses entirely on that, and they find clients. And it's people who are glad that person called and they help them. So, but you do get, I think, more people who are just pissed off you don't want to talk, which I totally get because I don't like cold calls either. So, not knocking anybody's line of work. If that works for you, great. But
the other thing is, if you don't want somebody cold calling you, please put your number on the do not call list.
Well, yeah, and that's every time I get a cold call, I'm like, why have I not done that yet? Yep. But yeah,
mine's exactly. On it. Yeah, like, don't reach out to me.
I need to get mine on there, but yeah. So
that's how you stop the healthcare text messages.
Yeah. End of my rant. I just think, I don't see how a letter can be annoying. It's just like, you hang on to it if you want the information. If not, toss it.
Yep, exactly. And usually it's a handwritten and a thank you note. That's what I do. Just a little thank you, and people actually open it. And if they need your services, they'll reach out. If not, cool.
Well, again, and I feel like if you've reached out, you know the area somewhat. You've done some research, and it's like, to pick someone else just out of spite that isn't actively trying to get business. That to me is flawed logic, because like, I'm gonna give my business to someone who isn't actually looking for
who's gonna give you better service as a customer or as a client, right?
Yeah,
like I would rather work with the individual that's actively trying to work with me, because I know that they're gonna actually give a shit about my experience.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then we'll get into FAQs.
So what does your home selling process look like?
So the home selling process can look a little different based on the client or the property type, but generally this is how I have found it to go. So it'll start with a listing presentation or a listing consultation.
Right.
So let's say you're looking to sell your home. You call me and say, hey, Blair, I'm thinking about selling my home. What do you think? I'm probably going to ask you, if I've never been to your house, like, what's the address so I can look it up, and I'll do maybe some fact-finding questions. Like, have you done anything since the last listing? If I can find it online, a lot of the information is already going to be there.
Right.
Have you made any updates? Have you added any square footage? Have you finished any of like the basement? Have you added bathrooms? Those are the big ones. based on that information, I'll throw together a CMA, comparative market analysis. So I'm getting pricing based on, on market listings or recently solds in your area. So based on that, I'll bring that to the listing consult. I'll show up at your house and say, hey, can you give me a quick tour? So I'll walk around with a notebook, take some notes, kind of looking for things that either add value or I think kind of take away from the value of the home. Then we'll sit down at the kitchen table and we'll go over my findings. And I'll usually ask, and I know some people ask this, some people don't. I'll ask right off the bat, like, is there a price that you had in mind?
Right.
And I know some people don't like to ask that question. I ask that question because I feel like it's better to get that out of the way.
Sure.
Than me give my numbers and then they want to argue it and it's not based on any fact. I like to get the emotion out, see like why they think that. And they'll usually have a price in mind. They'll say like, oh, I want $350. And then I'll ask again, before I give my numbers, why do you think that is the right number? Even if I think it's like spot on, I'll just say like, why do you think that? A lot of times,
what brought you to that, right?
A lot of times it's higher than what it should be because you've lived in the house. Its emotions are now attached, and obviously you want the most money you can get for it. So you're going to oversell a little bit. And they'll say like, well, I'm friends with that neighbor and I know they got X amount. And usually then that's why I start picking apart. It's like, well, they got $350 because they have an extra bedroom or they have an extra bathroom or they have a 3-car garage and you have a 2-car garage.
Right.
And I say, and then so it's nice. So then it's like, oh, okay. And then now they're more prepared to hear my number. I think that's how I take it.
Sure.
And then I'll give them my number. And normally then we've already explained away a lot of the disbeliefs they're having. I mean, obviously it's easier if we're closer on numbers, but I'll give my numbers. I usually give a range. I usually try to give about 3 numbers of like under market value. Like if we want it gone today, it hits the market, this will get it gone for sure. At market and a little above. And I usually give the above saying, I don't think we should list at this, but if we price it correctly, we might get in a bidding war that'll get us up to that number.
Right. That's the important thing is pricing correctly.
And that's a huge thing. And I have something about that too after this. But pricing correctly is huge. So I usually go for the in between the first and the second number. Like, because then people want to feel like they have an option. Sure. People don't want to be told what to do.
Right. Yeah.
Even if it's your job to do the market research stuff, they want to feel like they had a hand in the decision.
Well, ultimately, it's their house. It is their decision.
And that's what I say. I give them my numbers and I say, but this is your home and I can't tell you what to list it at. I can only give you my research and my educated opinion on what I think it should sell for. At the end of the day, you're the boss. This is your house. But there's a very important conversation we're having at the table though, because when I say, do those numbers make sense? And if they're like, no, and they want 50,000 over like what I'm saying, then we're having a conversation of maybe we're not right to work together.
Right. Yeah.
Because I know there are a lot of agents out there that just want every listing they can get, which listings should be the lifeblood pretty much of your business. That's where the money is made. They just want to get listings and they'll say whatever they can to get their foot in the door. And then they're sitting with a listing that's not selling. And then they're playing on price drops.
And then they got a pissed off seller too.
Exactly. And then they've got a pissed off seller that's like, well, this is your fault. You said you could get this done. And that's why it's like, even if they price a little on the high end and I'm still willing to work with them, I can look and say, hey, I gave you numbers and I told you that probably wouldn't work. But then, and that's, I mean, I could do a separate episode on pricing, but to move on from that. So once we come together on price, then we're going to sign exclusive listing contract saying that we're in business together. I'm working for them. They're listing with me and only me. From there, I'll usually get a stager out there, even if it's only for a consult. Even if if you have a vacant home, we can talk about actually staging the home. But if you've got good furniture, it looks nice, we're going to get a consult out there just to rearrange things.
Sure.
Which is usually like we're taking down personal items, rearranging it just to get the top dollar out of it. And then from there, we'll do listing photos. So I'll hire an actual photographer. I'm not going to come out and take
You mean
iPhone.
You're not going to take iPhone photos?
Yeah, I'm not going to take iPhone photos. We'll get a professional photographer out there. After that, sign install. So the gas, electric company have to come out, make sure, where to put the sign's fine. The sign will go in. And then based on how they want it to hit the market generally, I like to go coming soon on like a Monday or Tuesday, have it go live on Thursday or Friday.
Yep.
So we can really optimize foot traffic through the weekend. I'll usually do an open house that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or have someone from my office do it. And then from there, the offers come in. I will review those with my clients, help them negotiate that. If there's an inspection involved, once the inspection period happens, generally the buyers are going to want to renegotiate again with some inspection items. So I'll help them weigh those options. And then from there, it's pretty simple. We wait for the appraisal to come in.
Yep.
And if the appraisal's at or above list price, great. If it's under, then we got to talk about lowering our price or renegotiating that. And then from there, schedule a close date and we're pretty much done.
Yeah. The whole process takes about 30 days once you get an accepted offer.
Yep. But yeah, I don't know anything else on that.
No, I mean, what you do sounds a lot like what I do.
Yeah.
So the only thing I haven't done in the past is I've taken staging classes, courses. So I've been able to assist my sellers with staging their home personally. Yeah. None of my sellers in the past have ever hired. That's not true. I've had one client that has hired a stager on a regular basis, but he's an investor and that's what he does. He flips properties and he has people go in and stage the homes, and his homes do sell for more because he has a stager involved. But, as far as a personal home goes, as long as the furniture looks nice, it's literally make sure you don't have any family photos up, make sure there's no religious stuff, anything that could potentially offend or identify, personal identification or offend somebody, you want to have that taken down and put away. Yeah.
Yeah. And early on, I didn't do staging, but I mean, the numbers back it up. Staged homes sell for more money. And generally it's like I said, the consult's just helping you arrange it. And I actually included my listing package in the person I'm now using. It's like $250 for the.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah. So I just include that in my listing. I leave it optional for them because for some reason it is kind of I don't know. Some people do take that like offense to that.
Of course, it's their home.
It's their home because they're like, no, my home is perfect because I did it, which is fine. Then it saves me money, I guess.
Sure.
In the end, but it might cost them.
Right.
But I digress. But like I said, these are options. And again, everything that I just listed out comes down to the client's decision.
Right.
And that's like coming soon dates, listing dates, going active dates. And that's what I'm saying. Like I give them, those are like what I like to do. Because I think that maximizes your exposure.
Absolutely.
But realistically, the dates are up to them.
Well, I mean, you're the professional, so they should heavily take what you say to heart. Mm-hmm. I mean, you do this every single day.
Yeah.
It makes sense to listen to your input whenever it comes to, especially if they're agreeing to work with you.
Yeah. And I guess that timeline too didn't include all the marketing stuff because I'll usually do like a walkthrough video as well, flyers in the house, several social media posts throughout the week. I'm getting better about like using squeeze landing pages, which is
those are nice.
Yeah, which is great for us.
It's how we collect our leads.
Yeah. Getting leads flowing. But yeah, other than that, that's about it.
Awesome.
So Amber, before we started filming, you had mentioned you kind of had an interesting lending story that your lender had told you over the weekend about someone maybe being short on funds and was looking for more of a fixer-upper. I don't know, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so my lending partner here over the weekend was telling me that he had a client come through and apply for a home loan, and they had less than $1,000 in their account, and they had no savings or anything like that. And they had found this super low priced fixer upper, and they wanted to go in and purchase it. And the first thing in my head was, well, do they qualify for a 203K to help renovate it? Because if they did, cool, let's figure out how to get these people a home, right? He was like, no, their credit's not the greatest either. I'm like, okay, so not only do we not have a lot of money, we don't have good credit, and we're trying to look at a fixer-upper. So my next thought was, why is this person wanting to get a fixer-upper? Because more than likely, it's going to financially ruin them. When you get a fixer-upper, you have to assume that there's more wrong than what is on the surface.
Yep.
It's not just paint and boom, done. I mean, paint's not cheap either, but it's not just painting the walls and going, oh, everything's fixed. You've got plumbing, potential electrical issues. I mean, if you've got an open ground somewhere, that can be an easy $200 fix, or that could be a $5,000 fix. So if you're in that situation, as a human to human, if you're in that situation and you don't have a lot of money and you're looking at fixer-uppers, I would advise you just to save your money, work on your credit, and try to find something move-in ready, because buying a fixer-upper can literally financially ruin you.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like you said, it can end up being a money pit. You already clearly don't have the funds. You're going to have to get some sort of rehab loan. And I think, people oversimplify it. Seasoned investors know they have a buffer in them. I mean, that's why they talk about does the deal pencil or not, because it's like you have to build in your expenses plus fees to and then when you go to sell, is it going to make sense to actually buy it as a fixer-upper? And I think first time home buyers get this idea that if they don't have a lot of funds, they should go that route. Or even I think what throws people off is, I think once upon a time, your first home option were townhomes, because those are more affordable.
Right.
But then once you start getting the HOAs,
it
becomes less affordable than a single family.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that surprises home buyers too. And the only reason I mention that is there are a lot of costs up front that you won't understand until you start looking. Yeah,
for sure. What I've noticed with HOAs too, in Hampton Roads in Virginia, some of the HOAs are still not $100 or less for the HOA fees. Here, they're $200 to $400 is what I've noticed. They're very expensive here. But the nice thing with being in an HOA community is usually you have some sort of amenities that you don't have in a single family home. Like maybe there's a community pool or a community clubhouse, community playgrounds, or basketball courts or tennis courts or pickleball courts or whatever the case is. Whereas you won't get that in a single family home. So whenever you're in an HOA, you're looking at amenities, and that's really what you're paying for.
Well, the one I tell them to look for too that's big is if it includes water, electric, and sanitation. Because those are ones that you're going to have to pay those monthly regardless.
Yep.
So if it's rolled into your HOA, it's not as big of a deal because you're not paying that on top of your monthly bills.
Yeah. The other thing about HOAs that a lot of people don't recognize, let's just say they're pre-approved for $300,000 and the HOA is $200 a month. That's going to shave about $20,000 a month, or $20,000 off your pre-approval. So that is something that you have to keep in mind, is just because you're pre-approved for $300,000 or $400,000 and you find the perfect association that you want to belong to and you want to buy a house there, keep in mind your pre-approval is going for every $100. It's about $10,000 off your pre-approval.
Yeah. That's exactly that, is that first time home buyers, they get this pre-approval, like you said, for $300. So they're looking at single family homes, I can't find anything for single family homes. And but I found this townhome for $300,000 and then the HOA is $400 a month. It's well, you can actually qualify for $250,000 then.
Yeah.
So, and that confuses buyers all the time. They're well, why did my lender say that? Well, that's why.
Yeah, it's an extra expense, and the lender has to count that against you whenever you go to purchase a property.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Anything else on that?
No.
Alrighty. Well, I think that just about does it.
Yeah.
This has been another episode of the Real Estate Sit Down. Please continue to subscribe, turn on notifications, post comments. We love reading through the comments, responding to those. Everything helps.
Don't be afraid to add us on Facebook either.
Yeah, add us on Facebook. I post clips from this on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think I even do it on Threads for Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just haven't posted everywhere. So you can find us anywhere literally social media is. So this has been the Real Estate Sit Down. I'm Blair Berg, and this is Amber Perez.
Yep. See you guys later.